Local coverage of this attack on America.
Kim Capozzo joins us live from just one of the many local churches that are holding special prayer sessions right now.
Dana Wagner is live from Nellis Air Force Base, where they are on their highest alert.
First, we're going to go to Stacy Escalante at McCarran International Airport, and again, it is very quiet there because there is no air traffic whatsoever right now, Stacy.
That's right, Kendall. About 900 flights come in and out of McCarran daily. Right now, obviously, there's no action on the tarmac behind me. Inside and outside the main terminal, there's no action either. Most of the passengers went to local hotels or looked for other ways to get home. An entire industry paralyzed from coast to coast leaves thousands of passengers stranded at McCarran.
My biggest concern would be just to get back home. I was flying from Santa Barbara, stopping in Denver, going on to Columbus, Ohio. That's where my husband is, but my family's in California, so they're driving from Los Angeles to come pick me up here.
I have a ways to go. I can't exactly grab a cab or something and get there.
Renting a car to take out of state isn't an option either. Most companies don't have any left or won't allow one-way travel.
We were wondering about going, if we can take the car to as far as Needles and catch Amtrak tonight, but we haven't checked into that yet. We're standing around.
The thought of public transportation leaves some skittish after what happened this morning.
Like my wife said, well, maybe you can get on a train or something. I said, I'm not getting on any mass transit right now, to tell you the truth. Besides walking, and 3,000 miles is a little far to walk right now.
I don't have any desire to be, at an airport or on an airplane anytime soon.
Right now, that's not even an option. The gates remain closed, planes grounded, and extra police patrol the area, taking extra security measures until the government instructs otherwise. The FAA has grounded flights till 9 o'clock tomorrow morning Pacific time. Now that could change, obviously. Most of the concessions and the restaurants inside are closed. Access to the parking garages are limited, meaning if you have a car inside, police will let you get it and bring it outside. Metro has a very strong presence here, and they want people to stay away. Most of the people I talked to say the inconvenience of being stranded in Las Vegas pales in comparison to what's happening over on the East Coast. Reporting live at McCarran Airport, I'm Stacy Escalante. Back to you in the studio.
All right, Stacy. Every plane that was hijacked today originated from the East Coast and was bound for the West Coast. United Airlines Flight 93 was flying from Newark, headed for San Francisco.
United Airlines Flight 175 came out of Boston. It was headed to Los Angeles. American Airlines Flight 11 also originated from Boston and was also headed to L.A.
And American Airlines Flight 77 was out of Washington Dulles Airport, headed for Los Angeles as well. And on board each one of those planes, close to 100 passengers, including the crew members, and many were headed to Los Angeles.
Continuing our top story team coverage, Nina Raditich joins us live now from L.A.
And Nina, that city perhaps especially stunned because those planes were carrying so many people traveling there.
Absolutely, Kendall and Beth. All is quiet here at LAX, but we're getting word that United Airlines and American Airlines have set up command posts at a couple of hotels, at least a couple of hotels that are close here to the Los Angeles airport. The media at this point unwelcome at those two places, as you can imagine how intrusive that would be, trying to talk to some of these victims' families. As soon as we get any information from those hotels or those command posts, we'll be sure to bring it to you. I am on the south side of LAX at the command post here, and the only activity that's going on here is police activity and of course media activity. Take a look at some of the media trucks that you see behind me. Folks from all over the West Coast have come down to LAX during this tragic time. LAX is a ghost town. Essentially the entire airport is completely evacuated. You can tell the roads behind me, there is no traffic on roads that normally have a lot of cars on them, usually bustling with activity. In fact, traffic is not even being allowed off the freeway. Next to the command post, you'll notice several parked aircraft sitting on the tarmac. No one is in the terminals at the airport. No one is in those planes. 125 planes are grounded here at LAX until the airport gets the okay to reopen, and we should know more about that because we're expecting another press conference at 7:30 tonight. In the meantime, I got to speak with the LA FBI's special agent in charge. His name is Richard Garcia, and he talked about what his organization is doing to find out who's behind this attack.
The FBI's primary focus is the investigation, trying to preserve the crime scene in order to collect the evidence to determine who is involved in this case, and then to bring these individuals to justice.
Just to paint a picture of this national crisis here on the West Coast, when we tried to get into the command center on the south side of LAX, we had a really hard time. We were met by police officers, LAPD officers, carrying assault rifles, a very imposing sight as we drove in. Our credentials were questioned, our car was searched. They left no stone unturned to make sure that we were safe and secure to come into this area. Theme parks down in Los Angeles are closed. I mentioned at 5 o'clock, Disneyland and Universal Studios are closed. Now getting word that Knott's Berry Farm and Magic Mountain are closed. Disneyland is expected to open tomorrow. KNBC, our affiliate down here in Los Angeles, is reporting that California Highway Patrol helicopters are flying over bridges and nuclear plants all over California to make sure those are safe. Numerous bomb threats across the city of Los Angeles have been reported. None of them has been substantiated, but again, no one can be too careful. Reporting live from LAX, I'm Nina Radetich. Beth and Kendall, back to you.
Nina, we will talk to you later tonight at 11 o'clock. Thank you. We want to give people some phone numbers right now in case they had family members or friends, or even if you think you had family members or friends on any of those 4 airplanes that crashed. United Airlines has a toll-free number at 800-932-8555. American Airlines has a toll-free number at 245-0999.
Tonight, pilots are explaining how easily someone could break into the cockpit. I talked to the chief pilot for Sunbelt Communications, our company. Steve Kruger used to fly commercial airlines, and he told me how easy it could have been for someone to break into the cockpit. The door is not very secure. Flight attendants, he says, simply use a knock to notify pilots they need in the cockpit. According to Kruger, it would be easy for someone to figure out that day's knock and get the pilots to unknowingly open the door. Kruger also says it's no surprise hijackers chose these planes.
First reason that they probably chose the 7576 is that they have only 2 crew members. It's a lot more difficult when you've got a flight engineer to deal with. So there would have only been 2 people on the flight deck. Also, the 75 and 76 have identical cockpits, so whoever it was that was trained to fly it only had to attend some sort of a simulator course, which is easily arranged.
Mr. Kruger also explained to me these jets have a common cockpit without a high level of technology. He says any pilot could fly the jet well enough to hit a target with a minimal amount of extra training.
Here in the Valley and around the country, flags are flying at half-staff to remember those killed in today's tragedy. The attacks on New York City and the nation's capital are being called the worst since the bombing of Pearl Harbor. One survivor of the World Trade Center attack says he was getting off the elevator on the 92nd floor of one tower when the first plane hit the other building. Now, casinos along the Strip are also remembering those who lost their lives in today's attack. This is a live picture from our Mandalay Bay cam, and it's the MGM marquee. Look at the screen on the left, or the marquee on the left, and you can see a flag flying at half-staff with the words, "God bless America." The MGM, Mirage, Treasure Island, New York, New York, and the Bellagio will display such messages for the next 24 hours at least. Millions of Americans are pulling together right now, trying to help each other through this terrible time, from donating blood to donating water and food.
Continuing our top story team coverage, Kim Capozzo joins us live from Canyon Ridge Christian Church, where people have been steadily stopping by all day, Kim, just to pray.
And Beth and Kendall, they're feeling a range of emotions. They're devastated, they're grief-stricken, they're angry. A lot of them say they feel helpless, but they also tell me they immediately start to feel better and start to feel some comfort once they walk through those doors. And strange enough, once they're inside, it's a very odd contrast. They have big screens set up playing out the violence and destruction of the day. At the same time, there are symbols of unity and love throughout the church. And I'm joined now by the senior pastor here, Kevin Oder, and you're getting ready to address your congregation at 7 o'clock tonight. What are you going to say to them?
Well, it's a combination of hope and of honesty, where what we have seen, the scenes of today, have been very devastating, and it impacts us greatly. And how do we process that? Where do we turn? It shakes us to our foundations. And faith is a foundation that holds many of us up, and it's something that we turn to. So we will be talking about that, as well as the honest emotions of shock and numbness and anger, and how God is someplace that we can turn with those emotions, and He understands, and He'll be a place of source and comfort. it's also good to come together. Going through these emotions alone is okay, but there has to be a healthiness when we come together at times like this, that we gain a strength from being together than just being by ourselves. And that's why we're offering the service at 7 o'clock.
In fact, I've talked with a lot of people coming here today that haven't been to church in years, they tell me, but they just didn't know where to go. They wanted to come here to be with everyone, just like you mentioned. I do have a difficult question. I'm not sure if you're going to address this evening, but at some point you're going to have to talk about forgiving the attackers. Will you address that tonight, or when will you?
Not too much tonight, because the front end of the impact is still what we're all focused on. But ultimately, healing comes with forgiveness, and God is a God of justice, and we need justice done for this kind of attack. But God's also a God of love, and the personal side, where we forgive at the same time that we're administering justice, is what a Christian should do. But that is, you're absolutely right. Eventually, for people to be okay with this, forgiveness needs to come.
I know you're going to have a lot of people that are going to have things to say to you about that. They're not going to understand. They're not going to agree with you, but you're here to speak with everyone who is willing to come up and talk with you.
Absolutely, and our take is God is a big God. He can handle our tough questions, and He handles it when we just pour our hearts out to Him and say all kinds of things that we may not articulate too well. But He understands what's going on in our heart better than we know, or can understand each other.
Thank you very much, Pastor Oder. And of course, they are going to have the huge service here this evening at 7 o'clock. However, Kendall and Beth, they've been having mini services every half an hour. And again, all churches in town are open to the public. So if you're not a member of a congregation but want to be around people, have a sense to just go talk with others, to pray, you are welcome at any church in town. If you want to go to our website at kvbc.com, we have all of those listed and the different services in town. And again, a range of emotions down here this evening, like many are feeling who are even like yourselves at work today, at home with their families. It's just some people have told me just you can't articulate it, what they're feeling inside. I'm Kim Capozza reporting live. Back to you guys in the studio.
Yeah, Kim, if there is anything good to come out of this, it is that so many people are coming together all across the country and right here in Las Vegas, total strangers coming together to help each other through this. And even more are helping in yet another way. At the East Charleston location, the wait right now to give blood is a minimum of 5 hours. But that's not discouraging a lot of people from sticking around or putting their name at least on a list and coming back later. Pint after pint, blood is being loaded into boxes that will eventually get shipped to a facility in Arizona and then, if needed, to New York City. So this actually could contribute to helping people all the way on the other side of the country. The folks who are turning out to donate tell us the huge turnout is evidence that Americans are coming together in a time of crisis.
This is amazing. This is fantastic. All these people showing up to give blood. We stick together.
If they attack one of us, we're going to respond because we're all family.
A lot of people are coming in. A lot of stores are donating, and everybody's helping out the best they can.
Right now, officials with the United Blood Services say they're going to stay open as long as people show up, but they are asking that if you're considering donating, wait until tomorrow. There's at least a 2-hour-long wait right now anywhere you go, any of the locations, so people are standing in line. They do want to emphasize, though, how much they appreciate everyone coming out to help.
Good time to note that all Clark County schools remained open today except the one on Nellis Air Force Base. That base is on high alert in wake of today's events.
Yeah, it's code Delta. It is the highest level of security there. Dana Wagner joins us live. And Dana, anybody going in has to have proper ID, and they're going to be going through a search as well.
Yeah, they're limiting access to Nellis Air Force Base tonight. As we take a look behind me, they continue to search cars here, looking for any bombs or other devices that may be hidden. Obviously, they do some very high-level training here, Top Gun type training here at Nellis Air Force Base. Well, that's training. This is for real. They say they are ready to go.
We do fairly routine exercises to handle natural disasters, or we have several terms, I won't go into them, disasters such as this. So we're prepared.
Prepared in the air and on the ground, searching cars for bombs and weapons, using dogs and mirrors to search for things not easily seen, even going through backpacks, unwilling to take any chances. They're trying to protect themselves so they can help America.
We again are on a heightened state of alert, as is the rest of the United States Armed Forces, and we're going to do what we can to alleviate any further disasters such as we had this morning.
General Johnson says a very somber mood on base tonight. He says some very heavy hearts some 3,000 miles away from today's terrorist attacks. Reporting live from Nellis, I'm Dana Wagner. Now back to you guys.
Dana, thanks. Cross traffic on US 93 at Hoover Dam has been shut down since about 9 this morning and remains closed right now. As Tom Hawley tells us, it's an unprecedented level of security.
Metro K-9 units with bomb-sniffing dogs racing past a mile of backed-up traffic detoured of Railroad Pass. This type of tension hasn't been felt at the dam for 60 years. Dennis McBride is an expert on the dam's history.
It was right after the war started, after December 7th, in fact, that they built a pillbox on the Arizona side of the dam overlooking the area where they could put machine guns.
Back then, traffic was still allowed across, but only with heavy security.
It did constitute an enemy target because of the war industries that were going on here in southern Nevada. BMI, Henderson, Basic Magnesium, broke ground actually in September 1941, several months before Pearl Harbor.
No attacks have ever been attempted on the dam, but more defensive measures were taken 6 years ago.
Since the Oklahoma City bombing and directives were put out by the government to begin stricter security measures at all government installations, they had heightened security at Hoover Dam.
Tom Hawley, News 3.
That security level includes remodeling at the dam to lessen the possibility of car bomb attacks. Officials plan to reevaluate the closure tomorrow morning to determine when traffic will resume.
Sheriff Jerry Keller has said in the meantime that extra officers will remain at Hoover Dam and other sensitive locations until this emergency is over. Today, the sheriff got together with agents from the FBI, ATF, and every other local law enforcement department in the valley. Denise Roche is in the newsroom with more on what they had to say. And Denise, really the bottom line is there has been no direct threat to southern Nevada.
Kendall, with the absolute chaos we've seen today in New York and Washington, it is difficult to believe that it is business as usual in Las Vegas. But from a law enforcement point of view, things are business as usual. Sheriff Keller says he will not be canceling days off for his officers. Some are simply being reassigned to help out near the dam or by the Air Force Base. Here you can see how Metro shut down 2 lanes along Charleston this morning during a news briefing in FBI headquarters. And while it's true we are on a heightened sense of alert, the highest law officers in the valley say it's time for people in southern Nevada to come together and not to panic.
Well, I think it's very important that the public understand that there is no issues that we are aware of at this time that affect Nevada. While we remain at highest alert for public safety, which includes the fire and the other agencies, it is business as usual in our state. We have absolutely no reason to think that we are at any sort of risk.
We have our tourist safety team working up and down the strip with all the security forces there to make sure they have complete and accurate information and that we're always operating on facts and not on rumors or innuendos.
Henderson police are now wearing black bands across their badges, a sign of mourning, something no doubt that the entire country is feeling this evening. From the newsroom, I'm Denise Roche. Kendall and Beth, back to you.
All right, Denise. Today's terrorist attack has a lot of people looking toward the Middle East for answers. And at UNLV, students in an Islamic policies course talked today about the tragedy and shared their opinions, ranging from who was behind this attack to how the U.S. will recover.
But it's really not a surprise in many ways because there have been a great deal of tension in the past several months with various groups, and particularly the groups that we now are concerned about might be responsible for this.
Dr. Tom Donfar, who you just saw there, also says the U.S. should be more involved in trying to help out in the Middle East conflicts.
Las Vegas's former #2 agent in charge for the FBI says today's attack is a crime simply too small, or calling today's attack a crime is simply too small a word. But is the tragedy an intelligence failure or an inevitable fact of living in a free society? Darcy Spears spoke with the newly retired FBI supervisor and joins us now to explain his theory on exactly what happened.
That FBI supervisor Walt Stowe says that today's attack should not be seen as an intelligence failure. He explains if you have a very highly trained, dedicated, irrational group of people, there are probably no steps that would be sufficient to prevent their acts of terrorism. The demand for answers increases as we enter the 12th hour after the attack on America. How could 4 planes have been hijacked? Is domestic airport security advanced enough to detect certain types of weapons hijackers may have brought on board those flights? And are government intelligence experts? Could they, should they have known what the individuals or groups responsible were planning?
Assuming that it is Osama bin Laden or some of his associates, these people operate under very tight cells that are difficult, if not impossible, to infiltrate, and that's why that these things can occur without the FBI or other investigative agencies having knowledge of it beforehand.
Stowe reminds us, however, that as a free society, we can only be so effective at developing information and preventing acts of terrorism.
We've been very lucky as a society. I mean, you look at the history, and the first real event on U.S. soil was the 1993 bombing at the World Trade Center, the initial bombing. And I think we were all stunned by that. And then we had Oklahoma City, which of course the initial reaction was that probably was an act of international terrorism, and as we found out, it wasn't. Then we've had other incidents such as the Khobar Towers over in Saudi Arabia that was blown up, the Air Force barracks. These events, unfortunately, will occur as long as you have people who have no concern for other human life and are willing to commit suicide to have these acts occur.
Despite that, Stowe says we shouldn't lose sight of other planned terrorist attacks that were successfully prevented. After the first World Trade Center bombing, government intelligence agencies developed information that led to the arrest of a terrorist ring with plans to blow up New York's Holland and Lincoln tunnels, both of which were closed today as a precautionary measure.
Thank you, Darcy. A massive law enforcement investigation is underway. The FBI will likely be joined by every other state, federal, and local investigative agency with international cooperation as well.
You know, locally there have been a lot of places today that have shut down just as a precaution. As we've said earlier, all flights out of McCarran have been suspended, but officials there have told us they might be reopening tomorrow morning around 9 o'clock. Again, this is still something that is not definite.
On the Strip, the Stratosphere Tower and Eiffel Tower are closed. Hoover Dam is closed. All traffic is being rerouted along US 95 to State Route 163 to Laughlin, and from there on to Kingman, Arizona.
The Meadows Mall was shut down today. The Fashion Show Mall and the Forum Shops all closed as a result of the events on the East Coast.
Be sure and stay with News 3 for continuing local coverage of closures and events right here in the Valley.
Yeah, NBC is going to have continuing coverage of this attack on America throughout the evening and well into the morning. Be sure to stay with us for the latest developments.
Just about an hour ago, we received a report from the mayor. He's requesting that everyone take a moment of silence tomorrow morning at 8:45.
We will do that, and we hope to see you back here tonight at 11 o'clock for Nightside with the latest developments here in the Valley. In the meantime, our prayers are with all those who are affected by this tragedy.
Good night.
Meanwhile, the downtown avenues have all been sealed off, but for emergency vehicles.
Cell phone service came and went. Anxious people called their loved ones the old-fashioned way. Sometimes that didn't work either.